Hey guys, it's been a while since I have done one of these, and I have been meaning to read this book. I've actually even been reading it with my daughter lately. She has a huge rotation of books that we go through. They're a mess right now. I would show you the bookshelf. There's even more books in another room of the house. At any rate, as we move in, as we're going through the Civil War unit, one of the first books that I bought her, I was on a school trip a number of years ago, different school, where we went down to Springfield, and while we were at the Lincoln Museum, I bought, of course, my I Miss Abe hat that you guys are familiar with from seeing it in the slides, and a picture book of Abraham Lincoln. Okay, so today we're going to go ahead and take a look at a picture book of Abraham Lincoln, illustrated by John and Alexandra Wallner, and written by David A. Adler. Abraham Lincoln was born on February 12, 1809, in a one-room log cabin in Kentucky. Abraham and his older sister Sarah helped in the house and on the farm. When they were not needed at home, they walked 2 miles to school and 2 miles back. When Abraham was 7 years old, his family moved farther west to Indiana. Abraham helped his father chop down trees. They cleared the land for their farm and built a new log cabin. When Abraham was 9, his mother died. A year later, his father married Sarah Bush Johnston, a widow with 3 children. Abraham's new stepmother was good to Abraham. He called her my angel mother. Abraham loved books. Sometimes he walked many miles to borrow one. When he plowed the fields, he often stopped to read. In 1830, when Abraham was 21, his family moved to Illinois. Abraham helped his father plant corn and build a fence and a new house. Abraham was tall and thin. He was also very strong. In 1831, he and 2 other men built a flatboat. They floated it down the Mississippi River to New Orleans. In New Orleans, Abraham saw a slave market for the first time. Black slaves in chains were being sold like cattle. Seeing that done to people made Abraham miserable. He never forgot what he saw. Abraham took a steamboat up the river to New Salem, Illinois, where he worked as a clerk in a general store. He was 22 years old. Abraham laughed, told jokes and stories, and loved to talk about politics. People liked him. In 1834, Abraham Lincoln began to study law. 2 years later, he became a lawyer and moved to Springfield, the new capital of Illinois. Abraham ran for public office many times. He served in the Illinois legislature. For 2 years, he was also a member of the United States House of Representatives. In Springfield, Abraham fell in love with Mary Todd. She was lively and smart. They were married in 1842. They had 4 sons: Robert, Edward, William, and Thomas. In 1858, Abraham was chosen by the new Republican Party to run for the United States Senate. He ran against Senator Stephen A. Douglas. Abraham Lincoln spoke out against slavery. He and Senator Douglas had many debates. Lincoln lost the election, but the debates made him famous throughout the country. In 1860, Abraham Lincoln ran against Senator Stephen A. Douglas for President of the United States. This time, Abraham was elected. When Abraham Lincoln became president, there were more than 3 million black slaves in the southern states. Voters in the South were not happy to have a president who hated slavery. Soon after Abraham Lincoln was elected president, 11 southern states withdrew from the United States. They formed their own government, the Confederate States of America. On April 12, 1861, Confederate soldiers fired on Fort Sumter, a United States fort in South Carolina. The war between the North and South, the Civil War, began. Abraham Lincoln led the war to keep the country together. During the war, Lincoln wrote the Emancipation Proclamation. It declared that all slaves in the Confederate States were free. In 1863, Lincoln spoke at Gettysburg, Pennsylvania. His speech became known as the Gettysburg Address. He said, "Our government, of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth." In 1864, the North won some important battles. Later that year, Abraham Lincoln was re-elected president. On April 9, 1865, the war ended. The South surrendered to the North. The war had lasted 4 years. Many had died. 5 days later, on the evening of April 14th, Abraham and Mary Lincoln were at the theater. 1 hour after the play began, there was a shot. John Wilkes Booth, an actor who favored the South, had shot the president. Lincoln died the next day. A train carried Abraham Lincoln's body to Springfield, Illinois. Millions of Americans came to watch the train pass by to say goodbye to Abraham Lincoln. People called him Honest Abe, Father Abraham, and Savior of the Union. Some say Abraham Lincoln was our greatest president. The end. So I hope you enjoyed that one as much as we do at my house. Please continue to take care of yourself and one another. Stay safe, wash your hands, wear a mask. And from my household to yours, we love you. Happy Thursday.